Hey, look at this. Let me turn that off. Look at this. The magic of the internet and all kinds of... Oh, I got to turn... Let me see. I got to turn that off and turn that off so I don't hear myself playing back on my MacBook Pro. Hey, everyone. Richard Taylor here. And Ian Anderson he just waved. He is over there. Oh, everything's backwards. He's over down there. And then over here, we have Nick Haraz from Future Media Conferences, not Concepts anymore, right?
Correct. Yeah. The Future Media Conferences is primarily the company behind the Video Content University and the FMC Summit for the last few years.
Yes. And we have a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about the university, I think, first, since that's that's the closest event coming up. And then we're going to talk about the official training, the certification, the exams. People have been asking questions about those questions. And I said, tune in today. Tune in today. We're going to get some answers. We might not get 100% of the answers because maybe some things are still in flux a little bit, but we'll get some good answers though, right?
Correct. Yes, we'll have some answers for you for sure, and all those answers are going to be coming from Ian Anderson, at least the good ones.
Exactly. So, Ian, what time is it over in Australia? 7 o'clock in the morning.
It is, just after 7 a.m. in the morning, which is fine. I mean, I think I can cope with getting up just half an hour early. I think it's not a bad way to compromise, so we can all talk together in this wonderful global communication experiment, which continues.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the university event. What is it called? I have it up here on my...
It's the Video Content University.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Now, somewhere, Global Summit... Oh, I have it on my other page here. Here it is. Come on, double click, and I'll pull it down so I can show it to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of screens going on here. Lots of different screens I have. So this is the, let me see, countdown. No, I don't want that. Let me see. Here we go. Or this one. Look at this. Magic. So This is the Video Creator University. This is coming up at the end of August, right?
Correct. Yeah. It's actually a hybrid conference.
Okay.
So there's 2 days of instruction that are going to be fully online. That's the 24th and 25th. Then there's going to be a break on the Friday. That's the 26th. And then everything else will resume for those who are interested in person in Los Angeles for the 27th.
Right. So This is Video Creator University. So we have some people that are going to be there. Yourself, I know, is going to be there.
Yes, I will be there. It's a strange thing. I'm actually going to be giving a presentation at a lunch hour topic and probably interviewing one of the keynotes that we'll have more information on shortly.
Okay.
But yes, I'll be there in a capacity of being a host for one of those sessions.
And of course, my friend Steve Martin's going to be there.
Yes.
We had a good time over there at NAB this year. And so join from anywhere in the world. So register for the free online interview. So we already had a question. I'd like to know about any online portions to these events. So let's talk about this one specifically first, because this is distinct from the FCP Summit World Tour, right?
Correct. So this is a separate conference, and it's not affiliated, so to speak, with the World Tour. And when they are mentioning the free online event, I think it's important to know what they're trying to do is have people attend those sessions live. So if you are attending those sessions live, you have free access to that portion of the conference. If you're looking to watch a session after it's been presented live for wherever it's scheduled in the university, more than likely that would either require an additional fee, although Future Media Conferences in the past has been fairly lenient in allowing for about a 48-hour period where people can watch
Right.
any of the various sessions that go off.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's go back to this one, to the web page there. So this one is join us from anywhere in the world. Like you said, this is for watching it live mainly, if you want to do the free version.
Yeah, this is for watching it live for free online, and isn't actually referring to the in-person event. So that
Right.
itself you'll have to want to attend in person.
Right.
It won't be necessarily streamed online like the first part of the conference.
Right. And this is distinct from the FCP Summit World Tour. This one seems to be, well, it's Video Creator versus Final Cut Pro, although I'm sure some Final Cut Pro stuff's going to be there, right?
You're absolutely correct. So I would say, number one, that the Video Creator University is a 3-day event. So that's one big differentiating factor, where the Final Cut Pro Roadshow is only going to be a day at each of the various locations.
Right.
The other part is that the Video Creator University has quite a lot of content as it goes towards social media and the integration of social media in the Apple ecosphere. So I would say
Right.
that that's another big differentiating factor that might not necessarily be as apparent when we talk about the actual Final Cut Pro Roadshow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So do you have a list of characters? I know there's some there that are going to be at the university. I have a list here. Let me pull up the speakers. I'm not sure if anybody's been added to this. I know Steve Martin's going to be there. Here we go. Here we go.
So
that first guy is very handsome. What's this guy right here? He's a very handsome guy.
Are you talking about the right of your mouse, to the right of your mouse? Or
No, the right under,
there,
right here. This guy.
Definitely
So
not a few years have gone by since that photo. But yes, that's me. I will be at the conference. I will, the first day of the conference, be just introducing everyone to the festivities for the start of the day. The actual day itself starts with 2, which we call boot camp type classes, where people can immerse themselves in a topic for 3 hours.
Okay.
So myself and Abba Shapiro are delivering a Final Cut Pro class, an introductory class, which people can follow along with. And in the other room, I believe Juliana Brost is delivering a class on her experiences specifically with social media.
Okay.
We then get into what is primarily how long each session is about 50 minutes.
Okay.
So all of the people that you see here will be presenting on day 1 and day 2 of the conference. There's a few other people to mention that aren't here. Josh Morgan is someone who has a site called Momentum Productions. He's primarily known for gimbal-based shooting. He'll be delivering a few talks both online and in person in Los Angeles. So that's pretty exciting.
Absolutely.
There's another FCP user by the name of Matthew O'Brien, who's primarily in the YouTube audience and has done a number of Final Cut videos. He'll also be presenting on a topic as well. And other people that I can't mention just yet.
Right.
But there are other people who are going to be there. I'm excited about it, and I can't wait to share with you as soon as FMC Conferences gives the green light.
Absolutely. Fantastic. So, do anything else you want to say specific about the university event before we move on to the tour, world tour? Are they going to do certification classes on that one day in LA at the university event?
At the university event, they are not doing any certification classes. We'll be giving information about the certification classes, similar to some of the information that's already available online for those who are attending. I wouldn't be surprised if the people who are attending might get a discount for being there in person.
There you go.
That's
There you
always
go.
great if you're looking to take one of the certification levels, but it will be more informational than a session dedicated towards it. Especially, with Richard, with the rebirth of in-person events, we wanted the sessions to be as hands-on as possible.
Right.
The actual live portion starts with people able to take a iPhone filmmaking class with Jeff Greenberg, where hands-on you put together a 15-second video, and then there's another class run with Mark Spencer and Steve Martin. It's just been decided where they're going to take you through how they put together some content over the period of a day, how they were able to shoot and edit that content within 24 hours. They'll be presenting it live at the conference, which is pretty exciting. So that's like how we're starting it off, with some
Right.
hands-on material, and then straight to a ton of 50-minute content sessions to keep you immersed, followed by a keynote as well as a panel from 4 of the people who you actually show the pictures of, where we'll be chatting with them about what they've learned over the years through content creation, and what they would tell their younger self about that and the industry as it is today.
Which 4?
Wow, you're asking me this off the top of my head, and I've tried
Yeah.
as much as possible to
I
remember
know
that
Jeff will
grid.
be there. I know Jeff will be there for sure.
Yeah. So for the panel, I believe it's going to consist of Jen Jagger, Juliana Brost, Frederick Van Johnson is going to be the host.
Oh, he's going to be
we
the
also-
host. Okay.
He's going to be the host of that session.
Gotcha.
We have Josh Morgan, and I'm drawing a blank on the fourth
Okay.
person participating.
Okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious myself.
Yeah. I think it could be I'm drawing the blank because there's been a switch of a person who's attending. But yeah.
Right. Okay. So we have one question, Bruce Babcock. Where in LA is the in-person portion?
So Bruce, right now, we are torn between 2 locations, and we will be
Okay.
providing that information about which location we decide no later than the end of next week, as in we know it's fast approaching very quickly.
Right. Well, the difference is you don't have to get, well, you might have to, but the people that are attending don't have to get a hotel like they had to do with the summit in the past.
Yeah, I think if you're, number one, you can, of course, attend the online portion if LA is hard to get to for the Saturday. And if you're in LA or anywhere close to that area, you can just come attend the session and participate in the events if you're a local, or find out if it's worth it to come after you see the panelists as well as the keynote speaker. Maybe even consider travel and getting together with us for a day.
Yes, absolutely. So that'll be fun. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
What about you, Ian? What are you doing?
Oh man, so many things on at the moment. I've been practicing with the drone. I got a new DJI Mini 3 Pro for a job where I needed a better drone than the drone I had, and so went out, played with it, crashed it. It's fine.
Oh yeah, I crashed
else?
mine too.
Building animations with motion to help launch a board game, which is fun. So making virtual pieces for the board game, which are little domino-style tiles. But I had to make them up in motion using 3D text, because it's by far the easiest way to build a 3D thing if your models don't need to be too complex.
Yes.
And it's too hard to get stuff printed and film it for real. Lots of stuff like that.
My first drone was a Typhoon H, which is actually 5 blades. It's a what is a 5? Quad, so whatever they call it.
Pentacopter?
Yeah, 5-bladed, I think. No, maybe it is 6 blades. Is it 6? Maybe I can't remember. It's more than 4, so it's not a quadcopter. I wrecked that thing so many times when I first got it. I had it in the wrong modes and went up into the trees and all the, I had to get propellers and arms and do all kind of surgical things to get it back on the road. Now I got a smaller one. I have the DJI, I think the first generation. I got it on sale last year. Amazing quality they have, with their cameras.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really great how all these cameras just keep getting better and better and better. And I know there's got to be a limit. Like, I don't need 8K. I don't
No,
need
I don't either.
12K. I mean,
I don't either.
I kind of forget we had 12K a few years ago when Blackmagic brought out their 12K camera.
Yep.
And I think most people have just pretended it didn't exist because they didn't need anything near that. But hey, I have a GH6 here, and this thing is amazing in what it can do. Like, just the numbers and the specs and live ProRes built in and 6K at a reasonable data rate. It really does make such a massive difference to how you want to shoot. I know a workflow I've been recommending for years now, if you need to deliver widescreen and portrait, is to record open gate on a Panasonic. So you're basically recording a 4:3 box instead of widescreen, instead of just the regular widescreen. It makes it so much easier to reframe because, the problem with portrait is it's so narrow, it's hard to actually show very much. And if you're framing for widescreen, you can't just crop that in because you end up with no image left. So if you shoot 4:3 fairly wide, you've got both frames right there. And it's 5.8K across, so you can crop in from that. It's still perfect, even for 4K delivery. So, yeah, and it's such a nice camera.
And now you're in the middle of winter.
Yeah, it's been too cold.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I actually had to wear something other than a t-shirt.
Everybody else is burning up everywhere.
I'm sorry. I'm telling a Canadian that I'm feeling cold. Yeah, sorry about that. It's not really cold, but I've had to turn on the seat heaters in the car because it's been a little chilly. So yeah. No, Australia in general has had its coldest winter. We've had the coldest days ever that we've had. Now, just like and like in Britain, they've just had their warmest day ever, and to each side of the world, those temperatures don't sound that exciting. It's like, yeah, it's 40 in London. Well, it's over 40 in Melbourne all the time in summer. And it's like, oh, it's never been 40 in London? Okay. And here it's, a cold morning for us in Brisbane is not below zero. But we've not had anything that cold. So it's interesting times, but for us, it's just, put on a hoodie and maybe investigate what heating is.
If you ever want to know what winter is like, Ian, you have an open invitation to come to fly to me in January of next year.
Yeah, I have experienced winters. I grew up in the UK. I've had my white Christmases. I've dragged a sled through the snow as a kid, and I've been to Japan in winter. And yeah, it's great. I love it. I love visiting it. I would not want to live in it. It's it's a bit. It doesn't sound like fun. No, and I lived in London for a few years. We had snow there. It's no.
The snow is nice on postcards.
I like snow. At this point, I still like it. Now, the older I get, the less I like it, but I do like it at this point so far. So let me go ahead.
I liked snow. So I used to live in downtown Toronto, and the way that snow would fall is it would be manageable. But since the pandemic, I moved an hour and a half north to a town called Barrie, Ontario, and it's a snow belt. We at the place we're staying at this, we were renting a place with a massive driveway, and from January to February, like the snow was up. I'm 6'3", and the snow was up to in some cases my shoulders at some point.
You're kidding me! Wow.
The sides of my driveway. So I was just like, my back is hurting. I've got to sit at a desk all day. Enough of this winter.
No, I have a snowblower.
Yeah. That was the investment that was made right after I had learned my mistake and foolish ways of moving into a snow belt without it.
We had 10 years ago, 12 years ago, we had 2 30-inch snows within a week of each other. So we had 60 inches of snow. I would have been stuck here till spring. There's no way I could have shoveled 60 inches of snow. I couldn't have done it. Wow. My neighbor had a snowblower, Sears and Roebuck or Sears snowblower, 18 horsepower with 5 speeds and a headlight. And he took his time and got us out. And I bought one the next year because there's no way. No way I would put up with that again. So let's talk a little bit about the training specifically, and then we'll go into the world tour with the summit. So the Final Cut Pro training, I remember when the training, Ian's a trainer, I'm a trainer, Nick's a trainer. I remember when Final Cut Pro 10.4, Apple dropped training at that point officially, for the official training, and I kept saying, we have a private trainers group, I kept saying, I cannot see Apple not doing, certifications, exams, and training going forward. I understand they dropped it at that point, but then now it's back again. And that's FMC in cooperation with Apple. That's Apple official training. That's not like some kind of a sidecar training. It's actually, because I've heard some people mention, oh, that's not really Apple. Yes, it is. It's Apple official training. It's linked from their site. So tell us about the training. Mostly Final Cut, a little bit of motion, a little bit of logic.
Currently, at this point, we're rolling out with Final Cut training. This is Future Media Conferences, and we will talk about the courses themselves being. If we're talking about the courses, they're sort of designed to be a little bit hybrid. So there's a in-person component for each of the classes, depending on which level you take. You have the option of between a 1 and a 2 day, and like classes that maybe yourself, Richard, and Ian have delivered in the past and will deliver, they have a series of exercise files that students can follow along with. The one addition to not only having your ability to sit hands down with a certified instructor within the Final Cut, the different Final Cut levels, is there's a certain amount of pre-recorded training that people can do on their own time. So not only they go through a 1 or 2 day class, but you walk away with some pre-recorded material, which we encourage you to take after the fact to help with muscle memory when learning the application.
Absolutely. So I actually got my Apple certified training from ABBA in Washington, D.C. at the convention, wasn't the convention center, whatever that center is they used to have the some kind of an event in December. Was that Future Media Concepts in those days? I don't remember.
I don't think so. I don't think that was Future Media.
Okay, because that was Final Cut. That was Final Cut 5, not 10.5. That was Final Cut 5.
Yeah.
So, but it was ABBA. Yeah, I took that class and got my user certification from that class. Then I went to New York and got the trainer certification at Apple HQ in New York. Yeah, but it was ABBA. Yes.
Yes.
He's been around for a while.
He has been around for a while. Yeah, and he's actually scheduled to deliver some of the courses. The user end courses. ABBA will be involved with them, which is fantastic. Another great person being involved with them is Ian Anderson as well for some of the classes coming up. And then a friendly face from the Video Creator University, Jen Jagger, will be delivering a class as well once we start rolling those out very shortly.
Right.
I think, it's important to note that Future Media Conferences is delivering these in-person classes, but you'll also be seeing things on the Apple Pro Network site where we have partners who have full online curriculums that we will be partnering with as well, that could also, in the matter of certification, help be a great study guide for people who are interested in that. And I think it's also important to note that the classes themselves are different than prep courses that Future Media Conferences has coming up, which are free for anyone to take. Now, in regards to the prep courses, for anyone who wants to take, Richard, any of the 3 exams,
right?
So whether this be the Social Pro, the Video Pro, or the Production Pro, there'll be a 3 to 4 hour prep course that's free for them to, number one, kind of, hey, what should I study? B, what should I expect? And C, in the prep course, we try to tackle some of the more difficult topics that might be asked on the exam. So I would say that this is sort of the best way to think about the prep courses. They are the icing on the cake. They're not meant to take away from your real life experience, i.e., you might have learned Final Cut through Ripple Training or LinkedIn Learning or a number of different sites. And with that and your hands-on experience with the app, which we recommend, you would then come and then take the prep course, which would steer you towards successful certification.
Right. And the certification, is that exam going to be in person, or is that online somehow? Or is it both? I don't know.
The exams, as of now, are online. People can actually, there's already been a soft launch of that where people can attempt to take this online. Even if you don't want the prep material, you could essentially, there's an exam guide available for you. If you're feeling confident, you're more than welcome to take any of the levels of exams that are available. But I would say that for some of those people who are tuning in, and if you're potentially considering going to one of those roadshow dates, keep in mind you get the cost of attending the roadshow plus your exam for like $125. So you get to be around the presence of, Apple, everywhere from different Final Cut trainers and experts, not to mention a keynote and the ability to take an exam in a number of different locations.
I get this question all the time. What is a good reason to get certified for one of these three programs?
Ian, you want to take this one?
Sure. So, look, I guess the reason to get certification is going to be different for every person, and it depends on, is it something your employer would like you to have? Are you working for a place which, wants you to do continuous improvement? Do you need to, or is it, do you just want to do it for your own personal benefit? I mean, I chased certification, I think, about the same time as you did, Richard. I was certified at Final Cut Pro 6, and I think I did the whole straight through to the trainer thing at a session in Sydney. Now, I needed that because, I wanted to be a trainer and, deliver potentially official courses. But there were plenty of people at the time who were, working for a TV station, and they needed to prove that they needed the app. That they knew the app really well. And yeah, look, it's going to be a different reason for every person. A lot of people like that, the officially verified continuous improvement process. If you're not, if you don't care about a piece of paper, then you can learn however you like, and you may take a course, you may just learn things through YouTube. But I think it is always best to learn things, properly. Learn the right way to do things, learn the best workflows.
Right.
And, I think if you want the official answer, this is probably as official as it's going to get. It's, Apple approved, Apple verified questions on exams, Apple approved, curriculum in terms of what's being taught, the right way to learn things. And, I think that has value. The number of courses I've taught in all kinds of different programs where people, within the first 5 minutes, learn something that changes their world. And look, spoiler alert, in a lot of video programs, for people who've never taken a video training course, they don't know what JKL does. Every time. And that's just the instant, oh, nobody ever taught me that on YouTube. It's like,
no, well, that's exactly correct. When I taught,
it's stuff like that.
When I taught, first off, the certifications, there's a couple of things. Number one, you're always going to learn something. You're not going to take a certification class and I don't care who you are, you're going to learn something from those classes. I used to work at the National Archives. I was the post supervisor down there. I was the person that hired editors. I switched over from, when I first went there, we were on Avid and a PC, and I did that for about a year or so. Then I gradually switched it over to Final Cut. If I had two editors, and sometimes I did, I had two editors to pick from, both equally qualified. One had Final Cut Pro certification, and one didn't, I would take the person with certification. All the things being equal. So it's the certification is a positive, period. It's a positive on your resume. It's a positive on your learning experience. There's nothing that is negative about it. It's just a positive. So does everybody need it? I don't think Steve Martin needs it, does he? I mean, some people might not need it. But for the general public, especially with this great deal you have going at university, at your the Creative Summit, you said it's $125.
I believe that's what. We should go to the website just to.
Okay, let me go to the website. I'll pull that up here.
I know that they had the fee listed there.
Let me go there right now. I have it. I have it right here. So let me see. Oh, this is it, right? This is what we're talking about.
Yeah. So this is the World Tour.
Let me see what we have.
We've got the certification and World Tour. And I think I saw the price when you were scrolling down.
Okay, let me find this. Yes, here you go. Tickets are only $125, and they include complimentary certification exam voucher. The value of that is $149. So the exam voucher is more than the $125 for the class, and it's included.
So you get your whole day of events and different sessions that you can attend. There's also going to be some breakaway sessions as well, where we'll have smaller groups where people can have some one-on-one time with some of the speakers who are attending at the actual World Tour locations. Overall, I think with that exam included, it makes it a pretty great offering, in my opinion. A day of activities and learning, where you can get together with your Final Cut colleagues as well, not to mention the fact that you can walk away with that exam voucher. Absolutely.
We got a few more questions here.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, so for some reason I've had issues. Usually I get the comments that come in automatically and I can just put them over. Now I have to do them manually, but here's a couple of questions. Thank you for answering that question about certification, which we did. And then Bruce says, just 2 weeks, a coworker was blown away by JKNL. Just 2 weeks, I guess 2 weeks ago is what he's saying. Yeah. So I learned on Premiere when I first started, Premiere when it was on the Mac. And I remember a time when Final Cut Pro didn't have JKL, the classic version. They did not have JKL. Version 1 didn't have it. So I forget what version it came in, but I thought JKL came from Avid, if I'm not mistaken.
JKL does work the same way in Avid.
Yeah, I think it came from Avid. But it was a version of Final Cut and the classic version that did not have JKL. I don't know, version 2, 3, 4, something like that. All of a sudden they got it. So yeah, JKL is magical. And I use the keys. I keep my hands rested on JKNL. I also programmed Logic to use JKNL.
Well, that must be handy just to be able to have that similarity between the two
yes.
apps, especially if you're moving between them. Yeah.
Yes. And I keep a copy of my keyboard shortcuts in the cloud so I can go anywhere and bring them down. But yeah, JKNL is the same. I have it programmed in Logic. It's not called the same, but one is, but I have the L is fast forward and the K is, fast reverse. And then the J is fast reverse. And then the K starts and stops playback. So I use them in Logic as well, but I also have zoom in and zoom out right next to that, my customized keyboards, because I don't like Apple Plus and Apple Minus. I don't know, Ian, can you not look at the keyboard and do those? Those are too far apart for me, yeah. So I have to look at the keyboard every time to zoom in and zoom out in Final Cut.
So yeah, there, or the other one. Yeah, okay, you can test me. So right there, and it's up there. Like maybe you got to go for this command key down here.
Yeah, that's the one I would use. Yeah. But I just do one. I have my top 10 keyboard shortcuts. The ones I use the most, I assign to single keys. Single keys. So zoom in and zoom out. I use them all the time. Single keys. Deselect all the time. I have it to the D key instead of, I think it was Option D in Final Cut. So I made, deselect now is just, no, I have it on H for some reason. I forget what it is. But everything I do a lot of, single keys. Single keys.
Yeah, no, single keys. Single keys. It's a really, really good tip. So for anyone out there who, who has some spare keys that they're not using on their keyboard, or keys they never, ever, ever use and are sure they're not going to use them, just redefine those shortcuts. Look, this is one of the great reasons to have an extended keyboard. Now, at the moment, I've got a little itty bitty keyboard which I use, which is nice and clicky. This is a Keychron something or other with some custom keys to make life a little easier. Now, I'm missing my number pad. I still kind of reach for this blank space to get to numbers, and I've been using this for months, but I wouldn't give up the clickiness. The thing is, there are some spare keys. F5, F6, 0. They're all blank. They don't have anything on them. So if you're looking for commands to put on those, 0, silence. So if you want to bring in a clip and remove the audio, but you don't want to bring in a clip which has no audio at all, like in the situation where it's B-roll, you probably don't want to hear it, but you want the option to turn it up without having to do a Shift F Option R to bring back the original clip, because that has other consequences too. Silence, just set volume silence, put it on 0. 0 is not doing anything. And F5 and F6 are free. If you like trim start and trim end, Option left and right square bracket are messy. And 2 keys, F5 and F6, 1 key. And yeah, it does make a massive difference. It is way faster to have a bunch of spare keys sitting around for this stuff. And look, if you want to take that to the next level, you need command post, so commandpost.io, and then you can make something like this work. This is a monogram creator. It's magnetic, so you can disassemble this and reassemble it in however you want.
Wow.
And these are buttons that you can use to switch how the whole thing works. These are buttons you can set to do anything, and you've got tap and hold if you want as different buttons. You've got dials, and you can push the dial buttons in to do something else as well. So I use this for color correction. This is absolutely magic for color correction, and I keep meaning to reveal the custom setup I've invented to make this work. But you've got a jog shuttle here. So I use this for navigating clip, 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 clip. So it's simply move to the next clip, and then I use these 3 keys maybe for copy from the previous clip, which is, again, more amazing shortcuts. Everybody should enable apply color correction from previous clip. Just search for color, you'll find it. 3 commands there that are great. So I use those. 3 of these for doing exposure, 3 for doing saturation, this in the middle for doing color. So that's it's so good. And then switch to a different setup to control the more subtle stuff.
Right.
But doing color correction like this, so much faster. And the same in Lightroom. You can use the same thing in Lightroom or Photoshop or whatever else if you're doing other things than Final Cut. But yeah, look, I've had a MIDI keyboard. You can set up Command Post to do the same thing with a MIDI keyboard. This is more flexible and fun. So yeah, really nice. I would recommend this. But yeah, look, keyboard shortcuts in general, 100% going to make you so much faster. Anytime you find yourself doing something 10 times with a mouse, think, could I do this with a key? Yeah.
So I got DaVinci Resolve Studio, and I still have my speed editor sealed. I've never used it once.
Oh,
it's
no?
still,
I believe
it's still sealed. It's sealed in a package.
You got to open it.
I'm going to sell it to somebody who wants it.
Now. No,
What does?
Command Post supports that now. Command Post can make that work. It'll unlock it for you in other apps.
For
Double
Final
check
Cut?
with Command Post, but I think Chris Hocking has worked his magic and figured out how to drive the Blackmagic doohickey, that speed thing you mentioned. I think it works now, but
Yeah.
before you break the seal, just double check the website.
No, exactly. Well, I have the old Shuttle Pro that just for the jog shuttle wheel, because I like doing the jog wheel much better going frame to frame than the arrow keys. There's something inherently easier and more enjoyable for me to use that to go from frame to frame to frame. And I just have it for that one specific feature. Just so I can go frame, I got to go frame here and a frame there. It's just easier for me. I don't have to look at it. It's, just go over there. So I agree. I like physical controls. I wish there were more. I wish we had a physical control for the audio mixer in Final Cut. Oh, wait, that's not there yet. I forgot about that. That's...
You're fishing for information from people who don't know any more than you do, Richard.
The forthcoming audio mixer. It's forthcoming. Hey, if Justine can reveal features on an unreleased version of Final Cut, I can do the same thing. But I don't know any, so it's not going to be. I don't have any beta that I can do it in. That wasn't that strange last year.
Less effective then. Yeah.
Wasn't that strange last year? I mean, unusual. Let's say it's unusual.
There were a few like actual people who released some videos after iJustina did it with some of the new features. Was this 10.62 or 10.63?
Yes. No, 10.62. 10.63 was a bug fix.
Okay, yeah. So it was 10.62 where she had one of the new features that she revealed.
Yes.
And I remember going, "Oh wow, this is cool. I've never seen this before." Where you get a little sneak peek.
I got a text messages overnight. I woke up. I get up early in the morning. And I got these messages in Twitter and places. Check out this video at such and such a time frame. She released it, and I'm like, "Got my head. That's odd." And then a week later, Steve Martin came out with the second feature, the the voice isolation feature video. And then everybody was doing it at that point. Everybody had things. So obviously, it was maybe not officially approved by Apple, but Apple knew about it and let it go on. The question is that going to happen again? Or was that a one-off?
I think it's just going to depend on timing.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't know. If we knew, we couldn't say. It's the standard rules apply, I think. But I think that was just there was a new feature, there was hardware to show, and by virtue of the new hardware being available, the software could be demoed. I think that's just how it happened. But I think it changes a bit. I don't think there's going to be one continuous strategy for Final Cut Pro promotion necessarily, but obviously that's not down to me. It's down to the fine people at the Apple Final Cut team. And it's okay. I'm sure there will be new fun stuff coming soon.
No, I liked it. I liked the fact that they allowed it. I mean, that's nice. Listen, was there any reason they were hiding those features? No. Dupe detections in most other NLEs have had that for years. Nothing but, people from the Hollywood crowd have been asking for that specifically, dupe detection for years and years and years. It's not a secret, feature. So the idea that they released that, I like that. It's more open. It's more open. Now, the voice isolation, that's a whole different ballgame because that is amazing. Stunningly, it's not the same as noise reduction. It's not the same. They still have noise reduction. It's not the same as RX. It's something different. And it's very, very, very effective.
Yeah, it's very good. It's one of those happy features where you can just select all, click, and know that it's going to sound better. It's almost certainly not going to do harm. The thing I just output last night, it's an hour and 15 minutes, people speaking at a conference. I had a lapel mic set up on the speaker, but a second lapel because it's the Rode Wireless Go 2. I had the other one going for people doing, as a roving mic. And, there's a little bit of noise in the background, but you just hit voice isolation and it's getting rid of any kind of background noise, not just the hiss, but also just stuff that it is super helpful. And
Yes.
as much as I'd like, RX, voice denoise to be fully supported in Final Cut 10, I don't know. Just not interested.
Right.
They seem to have. I don't know. It's been a problem for years now. Since what?
It has been.
RX5?
It has been.
And
the number one crasher,
it's just a pain to export.
The number one crasher of Final Cut over the years has been RX. Now, Chris Hawking says it's because of the way that Final Cut does not cache the audio plugins. It's trying to play them in real time, so that could be part of it. But still, other ones work fine. But I understand that. But most of my plugin work is in Logic anyway. Yeah. But one of the things about the voice isolation,
it may not be theirs.
No, one of the things about voice isolation is it's not the same as noise reduction. I used it with background voices, and it still separated the foreground voice from the background voice. Another that wasn't noise; it was actually background, a crowd voices, and it still brought the main voice forward. It identified the main voice and brought it out of the mix. So it's amazing.
It was a really nice welcome surprise in my opinion. Like, it was one of those effects I wasn't expecting Apple to come up with. And not only did the actual seeing the test from Ripple Training when they released their video, how it performed in a difficult situation. If you remember when Steve Martin went underwater, it blew my mind how good it was. And then trying it myself, not to mention just the simplicity behind it, bravo. It was just, you have voice isolation, you click it, it does some beautiful behind the scenes methods and is able to not only remove the background noise, like you said, Richard, but even people in crowds in the voice and bring that foreground voice even clearer. It's quite a wonderful effect.
Those are the features that I love when the Final Cut Pro team brings them out. Number one, nobody's expecting it. Number two, it works and it's fantastic. Those are the special ones that I really, really like.
Yeah. And I think we're going to get more stuff that's going to feel a bit more like magic over the next few years, because the AI stuff that's happening at the moment is really impressive. Just there's a little explosion of interest in creativity at the moment with DALL-E 2. So DALLE 2. If anyone hasn't seen it, go look at it on just probably the Twitter account's a good place to get started. Things that a computer has made based on a prompt. Just a computer has generated all these images based on someone asking what's a squirrel wearing a hat in the desert look like. And it will just have made that picture or 4 different versions of that picture in the style of your choice, realistic or not. And, in the Final Cut world, the AI stuff has been about, recognizing the shapes of people. And this is something that's showing up in the next version of iOS, which people are going to be able to just click on a picture, a person in a picture, and instantly then just drag that person without their background into another thing.
That's amazing.
There's a Final Cut thing that does that already. It's called Keeper, Keyper, which Mark did a demo video on for Ripple Training recently. And that's not perfect because, AI is great most of the way, but won't get the perfect results.
Right.
So these things are going to be useful in some circumstances, but not all.
Right.
But if you want to put an effect around someone rather than trying to do a green screen without a green screen, it's perfect for that. So once you understand the limitations of what you can do, suddenly it's whole new workflows are going to open up. And I think there was somebody pointed out recently, there is now a on-device speech-to-text plugin for Final Cut Pro called Caption.
I got it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, this stuff which it's been pretty interesting seeing the captioning workflows change over the last few years. First, it was, per minute. There were a number of tools, Scribe-O-Matic and SpeedScriber and lots of other ones
Right.
online that were in with Final Cut. And now Premiere has it built in for free, mostly on device and very quick. And so, I would hope that it would turn up in Final Cut soon. But if you don't want to wait, you can buy it now for $20 on the App Store.
Yeah, it's not that much.
So,
About it all.
yeah, I mean, per minute is not a big problem for a finished product. But if you've got days of source material,
Yes.
that could add up.
Yes.
And so, but it's very useful at any stage in the process. I've been working on another project which was pre-edited using Builder. I didn't do the pre-edit; somebody else did. But it meant I've got a narration from which I can now build a documentary, and that would have been pretty annoying and difficult without something like Builder to be able to go through the transcript and just assemble an edit based on your text edits.
Right.
So there's all kinds of intelligent stuff like that that's going to help all of us do our jobs in more interesting ways.
Here's a great
And,
question.
Yeah.
Here's a great question. Will there be some type of public list of certified Final Cut Pro users? There has been in the past, but that was Apple. That was Apple's list. So, I would say the possibility
Good question.
exists for sure. It is a good question. Nathan McAvoy.
That's a great question, Nathan. What I can tell you is that Future Media Conferences is definitely aware of that list in the past, and I think you'll be surprised that something should come out soon along those lines.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
But since it hasn't fully been finalized, I'll
Sure.
keep it at that for now.
Yeah, exactly. So let's get into the Creative Summit, not the Creative Summit, the Final Cut FCP Summit Worldwide Tour. It's a little different this year, right? Let me pull that up. Since we've been talking about it, and people definitely want to. Here we go. And people definitely want to talk about this. There's been a lot of questions. I see them on Twitter all the time. So let's go over the cities first, because that's one of the things that. Here's the list of cities. Now, this just came out this morning. This was not online last week. The actual dates. Are these firm, or is this
These dates, from what I am aware of, are actual firm dates.
Okay.
You'll notice that there's about when we're talking about the U.S., the Americas right now, when we look at it, there seems to be about a 2-week gap, or just under, between each of these locations.
Right.
So starting off in New York, and then every 2 weeks hitting the road to Orlando, Austin, Chicago, and finishing off in Los Angeles, and then picking up after the Christmas break in the new year in Europe and Asia.
Yes. It's amazing. So you got New York. Thank you. That's East Coast for me. That's like a 2-hour train ride or whatever. I'd much rather ride on a train than get on the airport and all that nonsense. But I did for NAB. I met you at NAB. And Orlando, Florida, Austin, Texas. That was an interesting choice, but appropriate.
Yes.
Chicago, and then back to Los Angeles for December the 13th. So that's fantastic. Yes. And then in Europe and Asia, Madrid, Spain, Paris, France, London, United Kingdom, Berlin, Germany, Tokyo, Japan. And that's in February. Next spring, actually, is when that last one is.
Yeah.
So when people go to these, events, what can they expect? It's different than the summit has been in the past. It's different than the university event, which is not focused on this. This seems to be more focused on Final Cut specifically. Is that what it is?
So you're absolutely correct, Richard. So where the Video Creator University has a Final Cut component, as well as some of the other pro apps, it really that isn't what it's solely about. So if we were to take a look at, for those who have attended the Final Cut Pro Summit in the past, I would say one of the main differences is you would be used to a multiple day event, not to mention in that multiple day event, there would be 2 or 3 rooms happening simultaneously. At the roadshow, there is primarily one room for the majority of the presentations, but we do have a few breakouts where we break out into smaller groups for a segment of the day, right? But it's a jam-packed fill day. I can tell you that each morning, as it's scheduled right now, starts off with 2 presenters giving an ultimate tips and tricks session. Those presenters in the US, the Americas right now, will be changing from location to location. We'll probably be getting um, a look at some of the latest features of Apple Pro Video. By the way, I'm just going to say this right now. There is nothing that I know on the horizon of something coming out. So this Pro Video update could be on things that just happened or
Sure.
occurred earlier this year.
Yes.
So I'm aware of nothing of that. After that, we're going to have some breakout rooms where people can decide. If you're a student, you might want to have edit reel or a resume review. There's going to be someone who's going to be able to take a look at that for you. There'll be a motion graphics hands-on session. And then we have a floating session in that breakout looking at audio workflows or even color correction, depending on the trainer at that particular location. The other thing about the actual day right now, strictly speaking in the US, at the lunchtime, we'll be going over an entire certification overview. So you'll find out everything that you need to know about how to activate your coupon code that you have received because you're attending the event, and how to maximize where all those resources will be available for you for your prep classes, not to mention different areas you can potentially look at to help you study even further.
Fantastic. I'm excited to see how this unfolds and how the different speakers you have. I guess you're using mostly local speakers or speakers in proximity to the cities for the most part, besides the FMC people who are employees. That's.
Great question. So there will definitely be some. There is a focus on having trainers in some locations who are close to those various cities. But there are a core group of trainers who are doing multiple locations in the US, usually 2, no more than 3 at different roadshow locations. So you'll receive basically repeat people who are going to be showing up at multiple roadshow locations. That's not to say they're going to be presenting on the same thing, though.
Right.
We are trying to provide a mix-up of different material depending on where you're tuning in. I would say that there is right now a spot in the grid that is reserved for a keynote in the later afternoon. And that keynote more than likely is going to be in one of those local places that we'll have.
Oh, very good. Very good. Yeah. So there's still some things that going forward, we're going to find out a little more information about the specifics. So is each city, it's going to have different content, maybe not 100% different, but somewhat different, correct?
There will be some similarities between each of the cities. So for instance, there's always an ultimate tips and tricks show, but the person presenting the tips and tricks show, it's going to vary from presenter to presenter.
Gotcha.
And so you'll have 2 people with one set of let's say 20 tips that they give the audience, but then you'll have at the next show an entirely new group of trainers delivering you those tips and tricks.
Excellent.
I would say that the topics themselves, some of the later afternoon topics will change, and again, depending on who's there, the breakout rooms will change based on that person's expertise as well.
Right. And one of the other questions, I know that I was interested that the university event, the Video University, you have an expo night. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe that we do.
Let me pull that up.
Yeah.
So
I believe
I
that
always
there's an
enjoyed
expert
that. Yeah.
at the actual. We are planning at the roadshow event as well to have a mix and mingle, a reception, and a mini expo that will be at each of the roadshow locations as well. So that is
Oh,
not
okay.
mentioned in the Creative University, but that will be something that is a part of the roadshow as well. Yeah, we just haven't gotten to that place of releasing the 100% firm grid at some of the locations that are coming sooner rather than later.
Right. Right. So what did you think about NAB? Did you enjoy yourself?
I I really did. I
I did too. Yeah.
it was it was really a joy to see a bunch of people in the industry who I haven't seen for years and just be able
Yep.
to see them face to face.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had actually, funny enough, in early April, I had gotten COVID just before travel. So I was, at the height of my immunity. It was fantastic. I was able to go out and
Right.
enjoy myself. Had a great day of catching people up, but just to have that return to live events, uh,
Mm.
as much as I do love some of the things about online events, the flexibility of that, but there still is something about being able to be in person with your peers and your colleagues, not to
Absolutely.
mention your community, that um, you just do not get in an online environment.
No, you
As
don't.
much as there's like a
Yeah.
mix and mingle online, a reception where people and you see people's faces through Zoom, the mix and mingle where I would have a conversation at the Juniper Hotel with Ian Anderson days of the FCP summit, or us sitting down at lunch at one of the places just outside of there with a group of 3 or 4 people. That can't, in my mind, that can't be beat. And you
Yeah.
form those connections for life.
Yeah, it's the live in person stuff is always more fun, and that was always the best thing about the Creative Summit. It's the going to the local burger place and getting having a random Impossible Burger with Mark Spencer and Lee Herbert, and going to have curry with a huge group of people, and all of that's, and hanging out for the quiz show at the bar with Jenna Isaric, and having just a general random the things you didn't ask for. Having John Cleese. Meeting John
Right.
Cleese in the supermarket across the road and walking
Right.
back through the hotel. It's those kinds of things. The stuff you didn't ask for is what you get in person. Now, that summit, the roadshow, sounds like probably the best day of the summit, all crammed into that one day, and I can't wait. It sounds like a blast to have the expo in the evening. Is always fun. A day full of
Yes.
training where everybody's going to be there, and
Yes.
I'm sure socializing. Of course, if people are around, people would, go and order with one another. Last time I was in London in 2019, I tried to get together with the local Final Cut people and went to hang out with Alex and Thomas Grove Carter and had a good time talking about stuff outside the conference. So you've always got that opportunity as well. You can do things differently to how you do them online. Now, that said, online is great for a lot of things. I think people will enjoy doing the exams online. I've always hated taking exams in person. I find it stressful. I can't.
It's
use a
very
pencil
stressful.
very well.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
But to do questions online, you might see a still or a video that's asking you a question, and then so doing exam online is good, and I like the hybrid approach that is happening for these courses. So some of it you
Right.
can do in your own time, some of it you're doing in person, live, and interactive. And I think the way in which these certification courses is going to run is going to be really interesting. There's going to be definitely opportunity for interaction. There's going to
Right.
be exercises you should have done already so that you have hit these problems which can then all be talked about in a class. So that's going to be different. It's I know I teach a lot of classes in person as well as online, and I've seen the flaws in both approaches. There are limitations in all of these, but I think it's going to be good to have pre-made source material which people can always refer back to,
Right.
which is good and bad ways to run these things. And I think
Yeah.
we're learning after a couple of years of pandemic what the best way to run a hybrid thing is. Plus the in-person stuff. Yeah, can't wait. It should be fun. I look forward
Nick,
to the opportunity to travel again and go teach. Should be good.
Nick, are there is there a class size or limitation on these one-day events? Or is it expandable depending on each location?
As of now, I think it's going to be expandable depending on the location that they they get. I remember I wanted to actually refer back to a comment that you just showed a little bit earlier, Richard, from one person who is missing the fact that the summit's not coming up this year, because we are seeing a little bit of a different model here with the roadshow. So
Right.
I think there is an advantage to the roadshow as well, in the fact that if you haven't been able to attend the FCP summit in the past, you now, if you're in the US, have multiple opportunities to go to one of these roadshow locations. You've got New York, you've got Orlando, you've got Austin, you've got LA, which is close by, not to mention, I'm drawing a blank, Chicago, which is the other. So
Yes.
if you've missed out, we are coming to you. And
Right.
you're going to get, as much as it's not the entire show, which was spread over 3 to 5 days, depending on if it was a virtual event or an in-person event, there are more opportunities to come to meet you close to where you are. So I think that's an interesting way of bringing together more of a global community by having that roadshow take place over several different or multitude of weeks. With that, we do miss the fact that the summit itself will not be taking place this year because it is the actual global roadshow. But that's not to say that it won't show up again in the future.
That would be great. I would enjoy that. Go ahead, Ian.
Sorry, I'm just going to say briefly. Sorry, I think the one advantage which I hadn't really thought about of having all these little local events is that if you are in one of these cities, this is probably going to be a brand new opportunity to connect with your local video editing, videography, cinematography community. So there hasn't really been an easy way for anyone who is, in Austin or Chicago, etc., to get together with your local Final Cut Pro people, because, user groups have been a little difficult to run recently. And so there's going to be a whole lot of people who just don't know who their local community is. And that's a strength which we didn't get from the summit. Now, much as that doesn't help me because there's no roadshow coming to Brisbane, nor would I really expect there to be. They're not nearly as big as any of these cities. I'm a bit jealous of all the people who will now get to meet and, quite probably work with and build out their pool of collaborators for any future gigs. I think that's really cool.
Here's my request, Nick. You can take this back to the boss.
Okay.
Roadshow plus the summit in Cupertino, plus a virtual element. Okay.
Plus a virtual element. Okay.
Plus the virtual element, I think, is here regardless from here on going out. But the roadshow plus the summit in Cupertino, you guys had the perfect formula. You had the perfect hotel. You're right by One Infinite Loop, walking distance to One Infinite Loop, right close to the spaceship campus. Perfect formula. So I'd like to see that come back with the roadshow as well. I think that would be a great combination.
Cool. I'm going to bring this feedback to the powers that be.
There you
as
go.
Well as that other comment that came in there just about the summit too.
Yeah.
So that people know. It was such a great event too, the in-person part of it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's how I met Ian, 2016. So we're in the lobby of the Juniper Hotel, Ian and I recognized each other because we were on pre-Zoom calls with the Google Hangout calls years ago, 2015, whatever. So we knew each other visually. And Ian walks up to me and goes, "You don't look that tall on Google Hangout." That's what he told me. First thing, you don't look that tall. I didn't realize you were that tall on the Google Hangout. Yeah, 6'2", something. So, and then I've seen Ian there every other time. You know, I'm not going to go to Europe, so I'm not going to see Ian again for at least this year, unless you go to NAB next year and everything's cool with that. But I miss all that. So
Yeah, that being able to connect with people in person for multiple days is definitely an added benefit, or one of the biggest added benefits, I think, of the summit.
yes,
And I'll pass that feedback. And it's not that the summit is necessarily canceled forever by any means,
right.
but I would probably say that based on the rollout of the road show, that would be more than likely seeing it if it did have its return the following year.
Right. Now, the other question I had last time, I did like a pre-announcement of the summit last week, and one of the people said, "What now? Is there going to be motion classes at these one-day events?"
There'll be a motion component for sure. For
Motion component.
I would say that there's a scheduled motion breakout session where you'll be able to sit down with a certified instructor, and they'll be showing a few things in motion.
Okay.
Students. In terms of actual sessions, at some of the roadshow locations, yes. At some of the other roadshow locations, since it hasn't been completely firmed up, I can't. I will say that there is motion presence in. Probably there should be some form of motion session in each of the shows. I just can't 100% commit to that, just in case.
Right. No, it changes. Sure.
Someone local comes up, and all of a sudden I have to give that slot to them for one of the locations.
Right. Now, you were talking earlier before we get off here about you don't know about anything coming up with Final Cut Pro, right?
That is correct.
But I know Final Cut Pro 10.7 will be announced this fall at an Apple event when they announce the new M2 Mac Pros.
You know more than me.
Well, I don't know anything, but that's what my prediction is. We'll see Final Cut Pro 10.7 they're going to have an Apple event. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. They're going to have an Apple event, an Apple Mac event in the fall. They're going to introduce new M2s. Now, whether it's the Mac Pro or not, I'm not sure about, but they're going to have new Mac Pro M2 Mac Mini. And like they've done for the last 2 years at those Apple events, they introduced 10.5 2 years ago, Final Cut Pro 10.6 last year, and 10.7 this year. There you go. Without getting anybody else in trouble. So sometimes I get...
Yeah. I defer all responses to Ian Anderson right now.
No. Well, look, I know nothing about this, but I'm pretty curious what the new Mac Pro is going to be. And
I am too. Yeah,
I'm sure they've got stats on how many people are using all their PCI slots. Most people, I suspect, don't need them, but some people do, and they want to provide those people an option because not everything is about designing for what most people need. Sometimes a device has to be about, right, what do those super high-end people need? And so there should be a device which, serves that really high end. But, at the same time, all these nice hardware units in CPUs making their ways into the Pro and the Max chips, they do a lot of the heavy lifting that a lot of people need for some of these jobs. And so, yeah, it's pretty interesting, and I am curious to see what they can do on top of the studio. Is it basically going to be, 2 of those ultra chips, plus a couple of ports, plus some hard drive and storage flexibility?
Right.
The world has changed so much in computing since that original Mac Pro came out they're not just going to throw an M chip into that
No,
chassis
no.
and say, hey, there you go.
But I don't want them to go back to the trash can like they did. Okay? That was a mistake. They admitted it was a mistake. So something else, whatever they're going to do. You know, PCIe slots, I use them. I have a 2019 Mac Pro, and I really like it. Mm-hmm. And I have the M1, the 2021 MacBook Pro, and I really like that as well. Different reasons I like for each one. But I'm curious what they're going to do with the Mac Pro. If they shrink it down to the size of the trash can, that seems like not a good thing to do. You know, they should have whatever way they're going to work PCIe slots in, whatever way they're going to work interchangeable. The modularity of the Mac Pro is phenomenal. For example, the power supply is module. If I have a problem with the power supply, I can call AppleCare up. Once they diagnose it, they can ship me a new power supply. I can pull it out and plug a new one in myself. Doesn't have to go to the shop and send the old one back. The modularity is absolutely incredible. So if they get rid of that in the new Mac Pro, that's you know, I don't know how they incorporate, you know, like the 2019, you can interchange the memory, you have 8 PCIe slots. Not 4, you have 8. Now, one of them, of course, is the graphics, but I don't know if there's going to be 8, but I think there should be some ability to upgrade things like the current one is. Not all locked down
Yeah. So how many have you used, Richard? You've got a Mac Pro. How many?
Well, I have 2 for my the graphics card. So 2 with the graphics card. I have a USB 3 PCIe card. And I have something else. So I'm using 1, 2, 3. I'm using 4. And one of the slots is used by the Mac Pro natively. It has a Thunderbolt, and I think the audio interface is in it. So that's one's being used. So I'm using like 5 of the 8.
Okay. So for your uses, like the Mac Studio has the graphics built in, no slot needed. It's got loads of USB ports, so you wouldn't need that. It's tricky. For you at least, they've taken away all the need for all those PCI slots. I think for a lot of maybe audio producers who've got existing hardware that might be those ports.
Right.
Is there anything that they couldn't do with a breakout box, like a Thunderbolt eGPU or a multi-slot? Or just a few of those boxes for any of those cards that aren't available as Thunderbolt instead? I don't know, because the thing with audio is it always lags behind. Like it's always incompatible with the latest OS. There's always an issue when you upgrade your Mac in the audio world.
But remember what Apple did with the meeting with the professionals. They said we made a mistake with the trash can. We're listening to you now. Yeah. So the Mac Pro is not really meant for the general public. It's meant for the professionals. So listen to, once again, do you have to have another meeting a year from now that we made another mistake? No. Don't make the Mac Pro back to the trash can where you can't interchange parts, where you're all locked into everything.
I don't think they'll make it back to the trash can just because they've said they wouldn't. But the problem that they created with the trash can was a thermal problem of their own making, where they had a limit to how much they could cool it, and the GPUs they wanted to upgrade it to needed more cooling. Right. Now they are in control of need, and they can plan for how much they're going to. So,
right. But it was more than just the thermal.
So it's their own issue.
It was more than just the thermal. The thermal was one issue, but everything was locked in. The SSDs were locked in, the memory was locked in, and everything. You couldn't. They already had the meeting with the professionals. Don't go back on that meeting. Talk to them. Talk to them again. Talk to them again if you have to as you're designing it. The other odd thing is Johnny Ives is out the door. Did you read that this week? There's no association with Apple anymore. Yeah, there's no association with Apple. That's probably a mixed blessing, because I'm sure he was in charge of the trash can, or whatever, the design of it, and that they had to compromise things. And the way the phones used to be skinny, 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 and now we have protruding lenses, which I like. That's fine. I want beef. Same with the MacBook Pro. Get rid of all the ports. Get rid of HDMI. Get rid of the power, whatever. Just give us 4 Thunderbolt ports. No. No. We want the HDMI port. We want the, so.
I think almost certainly Johnny Ive's team has still been involved very much in the design of the latest Macs, even though I think it's probably easy to pick when Johnny Ive was more obviously involved and say, Apple Watch. And, from that point deduce that, oh, well, he's not directly involved. Things look slightly different. Therefore, Johnny didn't design this. And I'm pretty sure that, there was, even though there's been a flow back to, potentially more functional design over the last little while, rather than, the more design-focused design, I think it's that Apple's got a lot of smart people working on design.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure that the loss of Johnny will not necessarily be a massive impact. And I don't think it's going to suddenly. I don't think his loss is going to result in any great changes to the design of Apple stuff or the design direction. The team is too big and the culture is too well embedded. And one thing I'll just mention, in terms of design and freaky stuff, I'd gone to the library recently and picked up an issue of Wallpaper magazine from January this year. So it probably came out last year. Wallpaper is a design magazine, it's been running forever. They had a piece on Apple. So they'd been to the Spaceship Campus and they had a wall of cool design stuff. And on the wall was the current picture of Claris the dog cow.
Oh, wow.
Are you guys familiar with Claris the dog cow?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Claris was around forever. For anyone who doesn't know, it's a famous piece of Apple lore from the 80s where you have a creature that's half dog and half cow and says, "Moof!" And her name is Claris, the same as the old, so Clarus. And you only found Claris in the page setup dialog. And the dog cow would help you figure out if your page needed to be flipped, if it was left or right flipped, upside down, etc. So just a fun little bit of Apple. And it's back in macOS Ventura. There's a new, smooth, nice rendered version of Claris. And I think everyone thought, oh, that's cool. They made a new version of Claris. And this is the first time we're seeing it. Nope. It was on the wall last year in the magazine. And
there you go.
I was surprised to find that because, people would have thought at the time if they'd noticed it, oh, that's a cool version of Claris. But I hadn't seen people connecting it to, oh, it's not actually new in macOS Ventura. This was up 6 months ago. So I like that there's still that connection back to the craziness of the 80s and, Susan Kerr's original pixel designs.
Yep.
All that stuff continues. It's cool.
So, Nick, what else do we have to say about the summit or the classes? Or we covered everything?
I think so. I would love to see some people here at the roadshow, for sure, as it rolls out, and we covered quite a great deal of information about Video Creator University. I would just encourage everyone to check in a few weeks the Creator University, as it's the most. It's the thing that's coming up the quickest. We should have some big updates there next week, or updated to the website. So definitely check out that. And when it comes to exam content, as we head through August, you're going to see a lot more information and resources available for you for the exam. So that's going to include the pre-recorded prep courses, options for taking, if you'd like, classes completely online, or as we have just talked about, Richard, the hybrid approach where you take an online in-person class for 1 or 2 days, and then you have a certain amount of pre-recorded material that you can also look into.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I really enjoyed when I got my initial Final Cut Pro end user certification from ABBA
Yes.
is he did a review of the exam.
Yes. So, in terms,
I mean, he did questions that were
yeah,
going to be on the exam, not the actual exam, but I mean, here's a field of questions. Some of these you'll see on the exam, and he went over that live in the was it the convention center? I can't remember. It was in D.C. I remember.
yeah. So I would say that when it comes to the end user certifications, the prep class is definitely something that is going to steer you in the right direction. I can't say if it will be an exact question that I'll
Right.
go over
No,
in
of
the
course.
exam review,
Right.
but since I know what's on the exam, and I'm the person who's actually coming up with this pre-recorded content, the chances are that you are in good hands. That some of the stuff that I'll be covering will lead you into that correct field.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so definitely something to check out when it comes to those prep classes. And if you're still new to Final Cut, we went through these exams with the idea that people had a certain amount of experience in Final Cut before taking it. And there are there are so many people out there who've learned Final Cut in multiple ways. Yes, exactly. The person there on my lower right. So it is our recommendation that before you even look at the prep course, that you have a certain amount of experience of hands-on experience.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
in this day and age where there's so many different resources that you have available, we don't want to guide your whole process and how you learn Final Cut. You might learn Final Cut better through a series of YouTube videos. That just might be your learning style. Or you might be better with hands-on training, with Ripple training. We have an idea of what most classes ask you in terms of or teach you in terms of a curriculum. And then, there's a book right there. So with that real world experience and that knowledge,
Apologies.
that's when we recommend heading into the prep course.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Thank you, both of you gentlemen from opposite sides of the globe. Nick, are you in Canada now or are you on the East Coast?
I am in Canada, on the East Coast of Canada right now.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, my next destination in the States is the Video Creator University, and just before that, I'll be in Iceland for 5 days, which I'm excited about.
Yeah.
Iceland. Yeah, the one place that's I think cold right now, besides where you are, Ian.
Well, the odd thing is, like, the rest of the world is on fire, but now California's not. What happened to all the fires? Every time we went to the Creative Summit, we had fires, So they're doing good.
Like right around that.
Fingers
crossed.
Fingers crossed for them this year. So far, they're doing good. Everybody else is burning up, apparently. We're normal. 88 degrees, that's normal. July and August are typical around here. But like I said, I'm 69 degrees on the AC. So I'm doing good.
That's the perfect temperature. Just got to stay inside like days like these.
Well, if you do go outside, you know that it's like jumping in a cold pool of water. You come inside, it just hits you. Humidity is like 50% or below, 69 degrees. Pfft, piece of cake. Now, if the AC goes up, then you have a problem.
The only place that was different for me when it was extremely hot, I think it was like 5 years ago, I went to Vegas. They were having their heat wave, and because it's like a desert heat, it doesn't affect you in the same way as the humidity that I've experienced on the East Coast. Like, I don't sweat as much, and I don't feel it, I guess, as much, that sort of exhaustion that you feel with the humidity in cities like Toronto or New York right now, or Boston or Maryland, where you are.
Right. So Bruce Babcock says it actually is smoky in California. He says it's smoky here in the East Bay area, but not as bad usual as yet, though. Because when I first came, it was 2017 when they had the warnings that if you had some kind of an allergy or whatever, breathing difficulties, to bring N95 masks. This is pre-COVID. Now, when I saw that, I don't have the difficulty breathing, but when I saw that, I worked carpentry construction for years in the 90s, and we used to wear N95 masks. And I always had a box, for sawdust and stuff. I always had a box, and I went and checked, and I'll be darned if they weren't N95. So I brought some with me. I didn't need them, though. I didn't need them.
I remember, I think it was in 2019 in November, I was in San Francisco at the time, and it was just while the fires were happening north of San Francisco, and having to wear a mask to go to a Leafs Sharks game at that time, just because the air was so thick and polluted at the time.
And we used to, for years, I've been seeing people in Japan with masks on, way before COVID. Wow. I mean, always seeing them on the subways with masks on. And one thing I don't care about. I worked at the National Archives and I rode the subway every 5 days a week. That thing is a cesspool of people coming on with germs. During flu season, I was always worried. I always go back in a corner and, I'm glad I didn't have to deal with that this time. I'm not going to Washington anymore. But I would, even after COVID, at this point, I would wear a mask on the subway from now on. There's no way I would not. I just keep them with me and put it on because, these people rushing in there in a sardine can and everybody's breathing, everybody's whatever.
Yeah, I've been traveling on a few airlines this year. Whenever I was on public transportation, and it felt quite natural to just, put on your N95 mask, especially when you're in those tight places.
Absolutely.
So airports or just hopping on a train, it kind of was very easy or second nature. I usually at home right now just travel in my own car, so it's less likely that I'm going to put on a mask in my own car with my wife.
No.
But when we do go on public transit, the mask is on.
But I wear one when I mow the grass, too. I have an acre and a half, and I have a rotting lawnmower. And I've worn one for years. For that, for the grass clippings and stuff getting in, I have goggles, and I have that on because it gets in your eyes and gets in your, and then you get a headache. I get a headache, so heck with that.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, it's been fantastic. Nick, if you have any more news coming forward, you want to update your schedules, classes, we'll get you back on, and we'll do that.
That sounds great. Yeah, I'll keep you posted, Richard, with what's coming out, and maybe we'll give people an update as soon as we have more people.
Sounds good.
Schedules confirmed.
Absolutely. Sounds good. Talk to you all later. Talk to everybody later.
Terrific.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. That was fun.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes.